Some of the assets that Knowledge Gap has helped us develop are scripts so that we learn to say the right things in the sales process and react appropriately at the right times in the sales process. Templates, document templates and presentation templates and email templates make us much more efficient. We have the right communication tools at our disposal, embedded into our CRM, all of it. It saves us a tremendous amount of time because we have a team with limited resources.
All right, what's up, guys? I'm Joe Ignace, host of Knowledge Gap Show and CEO of Knowledge Gap Company. And today I'm joined by the magnificent Steve Ritchie. He is a PhD holder. He's a patent holder. He is the CEO and founder of 10X Engineered Materials, and they are a manufacturer of the safest abrasive in the world. Steve, thank you so much for jumping on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about all this.
Yeah, me too. And so if you're listening to this and this is maybe your first time or you've come back before, the goal of today's conversation is to learn more about Steve, how he built a multi-million-dollar enterprise so that you might find some pieces of wisdom that you can apply in your own entrepreneurial journey so you can grow your business and do what all entrepreneurs want to do, which is have something successful running that they themselves created. So tell us a little bit about 10X. So you started this company from your garage, right? How did you take it from the garage? Tell us your story, and what does 10X do, and what was the vision for the company in the first place and currently?
So first thing I have to say is that it wasn't me. There was a team of us. It's a cool story. We'll probably get into a little bit of where I come from, but I come from a research background and worked at an institute where I got exposure to just a wide variety of scientific, technical, product development, problems, opportunities, even commercialization and forming companies around new ideas. So I was very fortunate to have that background. Over that time, 22 years, you meet people. And that whole time, I've always had an entrepreneurial itch, always. It took me 22 years to make the jump. But I finally, in 2015, decided to join people that I had collaborated with while I was at Battelle in a company that helps industrial manufacturers repurpose their byproducts. And we got Owens Corning as a customer, as a potential customer. And they wanted us to help them repurpose their mineral wool byproducts because they had made sustainability commitments to their shareholders. And we had a bunch of ideas. And one of them was that it could be a blasting abrasive because it was a largely granular material. So we tested it. We went through the commercialization steps that you go through when you develop any technology. That's the part that was done in my garage. It's all that testing to see if we could actually do this. Is this a product or not? And we found out that it was. That turned into 10X Engineered Materials. I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So before 10X, you did research for Battelle, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And then you jumped in. What was it like leaving 22 years of the normal salary type position? The the comfort.
They helped me.
Okay.
It was Battelle was turning strategically, going to change the way the institute was going to operate. And the C-suite for the institute passed out a quad chart it was sort of a priority of what they were going to be investing in and over the next over the coming years, and we were in the worst quadrant where what I was doing was not going to be an area of focus. And those of us that were in those divisions of the institute, especially the mid-career people like me, were given a generous package to voluntarily leave. So I talked to my wife and said, I'm signing up. This is the time. They're going to help pay for it. We'll have a cushion. Let's do this thing. And she was fired up. She agreed. So that's how I left Battelle, but it's bittersweet.
Yeah.
Those people were my family. I'm going to see them today, in fact.
Oh, are you? Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were very, very close. We loved each other. We all worked so well together. It was a beautiful place to work. Now we're trying to create that at 10X.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so when you left Battelle, right, that's when you started Waste Hub. That was the first company, right?
Waste Hub, yes. Waste Hub is the company that was formed with my former colleagues to repurpose byproducts from industrial manufacturing processes. Yes.
Okay, and then 10X came from that as you developed the abrasive product.
Correct. We spun that off in partnership with external investors, and now I'm the CEO of that spinoff.
Awesome. Okay, talk to us, like just curious in general, like whenever you were starting this company, like what was it? I think a lot of entrepreneurs investing, like how do you get investors? How does that even work? How did you navigate that piece? What was it like when you were raising capital for 10X? Or Waste Hub, or both,
Yeah, I was fortunate to have a network of clients and customers that I've developed over the years, and I became friends with many of them. One was the CEO of a $5 billion company that I was a consultant for at Battelle for 10 years. And he had just retired, and he's the kind of guy that I could call and say, hey, I've got something here, and I need to find people who would be interested in putting money into this. And I just said, David, you know me. I've been doing this for a long time. This is a good one. And that was enough. That was enough. He knew me well enough that I wasn't going to, try to pull the wool over his eyes or anything like that. So he helped us and introduced us to people who he knew that were high wealth individuals who might be interested in investing in what we were doing. That took, this was still while we were developing things and, in doing the laboratory experiments in my garage and all these things. Well, he didn't live far from me. And one day he showed up while I was working, and he walked in, and he said, show me what you're doing. And so I walked him through it, and I said, there's the raw material over here, and we do this and we do that, and those buckets over there are the product. And he said, you're making that out of that here. And I said, yeah. He said, can you do this at scale? And I said, yeah, it won't look anything like this, but yes, we can accomplish the same things at large scale. It'll take some work. I told him, I said, David, that's the catch-22 that I'm in. We're in a catch-22 because we're not going to get money until we prove this at scale. And we need money to build a pilot plant to prove it at scale. So it's, and he said, all right, I'll fund the pilot plant. And we made we did a verbal term sheet right there, shook hands, and that was that. He wrote us a check. We built a pilot plant. It worked, and we recruited other investors. That's how that went.
Wow, that's awesome. What a great story. And I think, I don't want to skip over this too fast. Like, I think that's a paramount or a really good example of how integrity and character as an entrepreneur leads to long-term success. I mean, you didn't do any special tactics. You didn't, do X, Y, Z. You were just integrous. People knew who you were. They could trust you.
That was a big part of it. And honestly believe that this is it in hindsight. I'm getting older now, right? And you look back and you realize some things were more important than others. And I think the most important thing that anyone can do, no matter what they're doing, is to be worthy of people's trust. That's number one, because that'll open more doors than anything else. You can be the best at what you're doing. You can be all those other important things. But if you're trustworthy, you're going to get opportunity, because people are going to go to you. They trust you. They'll go to you for things that you don't necessarily have experience with because they trust you.
Yep.
So anyway, yeah, I think that being trustworthy was a factor. And just so you know, I'm not the only trustworthy person at 10X. We had a whole team of them. So when anyone met us as a team, they found that this is how these guys are. You know, these guys are straight, honest shooters. They're going to tell me the good and the bad and the ugly, and investors like that.
No, they love it. And, when I first started consulting with you guys on growing your sales, early March 2023, it was like the immediate things. These guys literally are so awesomely honest, right? They almost don't even like the idea of sales because they just want to, and it doesn't, I'm not saying that to say that sales should be dishonest. It's not. It's just like, you do have to sell your product or service, right? You do need to exemplify good things, and the big fear was over promising, under delivering. And I think that, through the process now up to this point, we're promising and over delivering, right? Almost under promising and over delivering, which is great. That's how it should be set up. But I remember thinking that early on, is it's just such an integrity driven people, and those types of businesses we like to work with anyway. And really they're the businesses with that type of culture and integrity that really do last and have success. And it's one of the biggest problems for small businesses, is how do you build that team centered around honesty, trust, and integrity that really treat the clients well, really treat their team members well. It's a dying organization that has a toxic culture. It's a dying organization that is dishonest or makes things difficult. It's like all those big software companies that make it really hard to cancel your subscription. You just create this negative, toxic feeling between the client and yourself. And 10X does the absolute opposite. They do everything they can, to right the ship if there's a mistake, and they're honest about the mistake. And what I love about 10X working with you guys, which we should cover more, we'll cover more here, is just how in-depth you guys are, just coming with the PhD background. And you go on 10X website, you can read all about their engineers, but they have this very data-driven company that when they design the abrasive, when they're tracking with new clients, they can really build out how they improve a business down to a science. I mean, they can do it with safety. It's really quite incredible. And that comes to this question of like, so starting off, was this all planned? Like what was your strategy early on when you were brand new? The abrasives industry, if you're listening to this and you don't know much about abrasives, when I first met you, I didn't know anything about abrasives. It just wasn't in my field of study. I always done door-to-door sales or fitness, business that I started and consulting. And so, abrasives is one of the largest industries in the world. It's all the metal in the world eventually gets rusty and has to be cleaned essentially with this blasting material, right? So it's a massive international, I don't know if it's what trillions of dollars, but I assume it's trillions, every year. And you're coming up as this brand new, technology. Like, what did you do to stand out? What was your differentiating factor? How did you get to a 7-figure company?
We didn't know anything about abrasive blasting either. We were looking for a solution to the problem of discarding mineral wool byproducts. So we had to learn. What we knew from our testing was that it had unique properties as a blasting abrasive. We saw that it produced a cleaner surface. It was obvious. Like if you blast with just about any other abrasive, there's a color, there's a hue to the surface after you blast it and you remove the rust or the coating. Ours is bright. It looks like brand spanking new metal. That was one. The other one is that was incredibly capable of removing very difficult. We had customers, just to see what this stuff can do, bring out the most things that you don't blast. You bake them first to make the coating brittle so you can take it off, or you chemically treat it, or you have to hand scrape it to get it off. And our material was able to take it off. So these are the things we knew when we first started selling the abrasive, and we went out selling it on that. In fact, I had an investor ask me, when we were recruiting investors, I'm in New York City, top of a very tall building in this beautiful conference room that had a beautiful view of the city. And he asked me, why does it do that? And I said, John, we don't know why it does that. We'll figure it out, but I can tell you that it does it. It does it every time. And he said, that's all right. You'll figure it out.
I love the entrepreneurial spirit. So great. Action, right? Action cures everything. Just go after it.
That was a cool story. Anyway, that's what it was like at the beginning. We really didn't know what we needed to know. As the hindsight, I wish we knew then what we know now, but everybody says that, right? Mm-hmm. Now we do. Now we really understand it deeply. And we know why the material does those things now. We didn't then.
It's because it's a superoxaloy, right? And it has these different particles, right?
That's right.
Yeah, these different particle makeups, right. So tell me about like the growth trajectory. So you started in the garage, right? And David comes over and he's like, well, we're gonna plant. We're gonna do this factory. Factory gets built, right? Walk me through how the business kind of grew. Year 1, year 2, year 3, and what was the biggest challenge you guys have run into in the 6 or 7 years that you've been in business?
At first, it was skepticism of our claims of what the abrasive could do. We had to overcome a lot of skepticism with new customers. You meet people who've been doing this for 30 years, right? They've seen everything. They've tried all the abrasives. Like, come on. So those learning how to deal with those objections, I guess you would call them in the sales world, we managed to do enough overcoming to get going. Then we started producing and selling in July of 2019, and COVID hit in February of 2020. So it was laughable. It was, you got to be kidding me. We're running on investor money. And now all of a sudden business just stopped. That was a huge challenge, not just for us, for everybody. It was a particular challenge for us because we were just getting started, Then, we started taking market share. We continued to grow through that COVID period, just at a slower rate, but we continued to grow. And we scared some people, some much bigger than us in our industry. And they found a way to attack us. They came after us for safety over safety, and have been telling the market that our abrasives are unsafe. So as you said at the beginning, we are the kind of people who take those things to heart and subject them to rigorous research and testing. So we did that, and we invested a lot of money in it. And we learned a lot about the safety of our material, and came out of that really, truly, honestly understanding that there is no other abrasive, at least not in the high performance abrasive world, that's remotely as safe as our material is. And
so how how did you explain the safety? Like, how did you guys go into the research, come back? Because like, as you said, you started this and didn't know. So obviously you had to do the research, right? But like, what are the bona fide truths here that are, this is why it's safe, and that those claims were just, false advertising essentially from competitors?
So the claims being made against us were based on what are called, air monitoring tests or air exposure tests. I don't need to go into that and testing protocol or anything like that, but it's what industrial hygienists do to measure what workers are exposed to in the air in a work environment. And they came back high in testing that our competitors did, and some of our customers, by the way, came high for beryllium. And beryllium is a known human carcinogen. It's a dangerous material. You don't want to breathe it. Causes chronic lung diseases. It can cause cancer. And our material has trace amounts of beryllium in it. Most mineral abrasives do. Ours is higher than others, but still extremely low. So the question becomes, is that level of beryllium toxic? Is it going to cause problems? Well, it turned out that mineral wool material, which is what we use to make our abrasive, had already been tested for decades on this very question. Does it cause lung diseases and cancer? There were decades, tens of millions of dollars had been invested because that industry had to prove that they weren't carcinogenic like asbestos.
Right, because mineral wool is used as insulation instead of asbestos. Right, that's what replaced asbestos, which was definitely killing people.
Right.
So, right.
So, long story short, it turns out that all of that testing over decades showed is that the material actually is biosoluble. It dissolves. The dust dissolves in the lungs and is quickly cleared like any other non-toxic dust. People don't realize how much dust we breathe every day. If we didn't have our defense mechanisms in our lungs, we would die in hours just because of the dust we're breathing. So those dusts are cleared by our defense mechanisms. Well, it was proven that mineral wool dust is cleared just like all those other dusts. No other abrasive has this kind of proof. And the kinds of toxicology tests that the mineral wool is subjected to, there is limited data on other abrasives, and it's very concerning. The results are vastly different. That does appear to cause damage. So now we're trying to educate the industry about how do you really know whether an abrasive dust is safe to inhale or not. You can do these air monitoring tests all day long, but that's what you do when you don't know otherwise. In our case, we know it's not classifiable as a carcinogen in human. It's in the same category from the International Agency for Research on Cancer as coffee and tea. It's safe. So that's what we spent the time doing. And now the industry is beginning to understand all this, and we're growing at a much faster pace.
Awesome. And all the data on that too is on your website, 10xem.com/safety, right? So
Yes.
if people want to go dive into all the studies, you can go there.
Yes.
It's a good place for all of that. Understanding what the IARC monographs are. There's all of that on there. What I think is interesting is you have these old industries, and an innovative company comes along, and of course you have the powers that be, all of the older money, bigger corporations wanting to obviously keep market share. And, for the longest time, it's like in some industrial area, oil, gas, whatever, there's just dangerous things you have to deal with. And so people don't even realize that there's a better way. And I think it's awesome that there's a company around that's creating a better way that's better for the people who are actually doing the work. Anything to basically cause less harm, right? Is pretty incredible, right? And it is worth, people understanding this because, again, there's a bunch of industries that people just say, well, this is just the way it is, and I think you guys are reversing that. And that's a huge benefit for I would guess, millions of people who utilize abrasives across the globe. So growing the size that 10X is now, it requires great leadership. What are some of the biggest leadership lessons you've learned since starting the company?
What I knew coming into this role, just from I told you where I come from at Bateau, it was a group of people where there was absolutely no question that everyone had your back, and they knew you had their back, and we loved each other. It was close to a family. You'll never achieve family in the workplace. It's an ideal to aspire to, but it's impossible to achieve. So to me, that spirit, that care and respect for each other, listening, assuming good intentions, it's culture, is the foundation of winning and growing. So I wanted that to be clear, and I was, I hope to set that example every day in every interaction, so that whenever anybody at 10X talks to me and walks away, they're thinking that guy cares about me. And so that's number one. To me, that's the most important thing. So now let's get to business, the business side. We're a bunch of engineers, smart team, good team. None of us are trained salespeople. None of us. That's why we needed knowledge gap. We needed to learn the craft of sales, how successful sales is done. That was one of our limitations. We're overcoming that now. We'll talk more about that. We needed to be better at marketing. Our plant runs beautifully. Our operations are fabulous. We have good people at the plant. That's the best part of our business. The parts that we needed to improve in order to keep growing were just, doing better marketing, and then being more efficient with those leads and opportunities. And that's a set of skills that we needed to develop. Our current growth is the result of focusing on improvements in the areas where we were weak.
Yeah, I think it's really helpful for people to understand is I think a lot of businesses try to do things just themselves. They're just like, well, we'll figure it out. We're going to push through the brick wall, and we'll deal with what we have. And, they don't realize the strengths and weaknesses type argument here. Like there's things that I've told you guys this on many of our calls. You guys are so smart technically, it's like I'll never get there just because you have so much experience. It'd take me 2 decades to catch up and you'd be 2 decades ahead. Right. And there's certain strengths that our team has, and this goes for any business, right? There's certain strengths that others might have that whether you hire, you have a consulting agency, you outsource your marketing, whatever it is, they can really level up your game faster. Right. And you're borrowing that expertise. You're renting someone's time to do all the things they already know how to do versus having to pigeonhole yourself into really painful growth, because it is painful, because you're usually so good at something that if you're not doing that thing, the business suffers. And so then you have that catch-22, like you were talking about with the plant. Well, we can't scale without the plant, right? So money maybe was the weakness at that point, but then you had the money, right? And then you had strengths and weaknesses within the organization. And again, that's along with culture you can help hire, right? And whether it's a third-party service or an internal, person, right? You can hire and build into the business, those weaknesses that you do have, and and then it's helpful to be good at sales if you want to grow a business for sure, as a natural component, and so, and I've, when I was recruiting people to do door-to-door sales, one of my favorite groups of people to recruit were engineers, really smart math people, because they could always understand a process, and sales, like I think a lot of people think sales is really a personality contest, which is the furthest from the truth possible. It really is more of like a formula. If you put these inputs in the right order, then the outputs are often better than if you were doing them out of order or randomly.
That's the part we didn't understand. We
right.
truly, honestly did not understand that. What we did know, being professionals for decades, that if you want to satisfy someone's need, you want to figure out what they need to happen and help them make that happen. That's how I made my career, selling our consulting services, our technology development services, our problem solving services, all of that. You had to truly understand the problem through their eyes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All of that matters. So I'll finish this real quick here.
Yeah.
But the process, the most effective process for accomplishing that, we did not know. We did not know that.
Right, because then it becomes an efficiency thing. Because when you're trying to scale, right? Because I think you can make sales clearly, right? You can make sales if you understand that you have to build trust and you have to find their need and fulfill it, right? And you can make plenty of sales of doing that. What people don't realize, they do it so inefficiently that it plateaus the business or slows the growth. If you can do it in half the time, you've just doubled, right? You could have, right? If you do it the same way every time. And what people fall into is this trap of that it needs to be customized processes. Like, no, the same stages are the same and you might change language, right? And clarifying the information that needs to happen in a certain order and eliminating, excess meetings. It's exactly what you do with the manufacturing plant, right? When you're building the abrasive, it's like, how do we put everything in order to get this raw material to this incredible abrasive that dissolves in your lungs and can tear through crazy thick coatings, right? It's like, and that's what you do with your sales process. At least that's what you should be doing with your marketing, your sales, and capturing the best practices from the best people. And when you do that, like, the sales will just go up. You will have so much more extra time to work different leads. You'll have so much more, such a much higher conversion rate because people are getting things faster. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions from companies that I work with is that they think that people just have all the time in the world. There's all of these horror stories of sales, like a pest control sales guy coming to your house and sitting there for 6 hours. It's like, if they bought in 6 hours, they could have bought in 30 minutes if the value was conveyed faster. It took the salesperson 6 hours, or the company 6 hours, for the person to understand why it would be valuable to them, or they were doing terrible integrity practices and really pressuring someone, which is not, again, not good for PR and will not lead to a recurring client. That person will cancel, right? So where are we going with 10X? Like, tell us about what's the vision, anything exciting come up, what's the legacy for this business, and why do you do this business in general? Because entrepreneurship's difficult, it's time consuming, why are you in this?
Oh boy, that's a big question. That one goes all the way back to the beginning, and I'll try not to take too long answering this question. We're a group of engineers who had spent our prior careers developing new things to help people. Very sustainability focused, very efficiency focused, very different, actually, different things. I did things different from my partners. They bring a different experience set to our team than I do. But that's foundational, that principle. I can tell you this, however we grow will be the same as the way we've grown to this point. In a couple of respects, it will not harm people. It will be safe. It will not harm the environment. When we designed our plant, we had to take this byproduct. It was tricky mixture to deal with, and make a certifiable blasting abrasive out of it. But that process that we developed consumes the absolute minimum energy that we could conceive of. It has nearly 100% internal recycle of water, produces minimum waste, and we're still working on that. So everything we do will be sustainable, safe, and good for people. That's our mission. That's our shining city on the hill, and we'll continue to do that. Lots of ways for this company to grow. And I'm looking at all of them. It could be many things. We have ideas for new intellectual property now that we understand abrasives very well. We could commercialize products and technology around those. We are not afraid to acquire other companies in the industry who have a similar innovation mindset to us to help accelerate growing into new areas and new product lines in the abrasives industry. Just in abrasives, we have lots of ideas moving forward, even with the mineral wool material. There's more than just blasting. There's lots of abrasive applications out there that we haven't even begun to think about yet. So lots of ways to grow. There's a big world out there. It's not quite $1 trillion market, but it is billions global. And it's a global market. And we're largely in North America right now. We can grow geographically as well. So the sky is the limit. This company can go to high places.
Oh, I'm excited. Well, I encourage everyone to listen to this. If you're interested in, one of the things we do as a company when we work with clients like 10X, that we've had just a lovely relationship with, just feel like part of the team. It's been great working with you guys, and I'm glad the results have been so positive, which you can go to our website. There's going to be a testimonial video and a case study that you guys can read if you want to go to knowledgegapconsulting.com/case studies. But you should go to their website, like 10xem.com/safety, guys. And you should go read about it. There's one of the things we do is business growth planning and analysis in the first phase of working with any company. And one of the moments where it really just clicked for me that 10x was really different compared to all the other companies we looked at when we were doing some market research on competition. They have this fish toxicity study that's just so completely bonkers. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me, because when most abrasives have to go through these, certain testings to be certified and go through all the regulatory processes to be approved, right? For, as safe as can be for use or whatever. And 10X has this whole write-up and documentation where they did this thing called fish toxicity study, meaning that if the abrasive got into water, what would it do to the fish there? And every other abrasive, that's been tested, at least per the study, would kill a large percentage or a large amount. You have to fact check me on the percentage. Don't actually know, but they would kill fish basically. And 10X does the same study and it kills 0 fish. And 10X has this, employee who poured this abrasive material, normally toxic to the environment, on plants, and it grew the largest pumpkin across the state. I think it was Ohio, Indiana. It was Indiana. Colorado, thank you. Yes. And the fact that there's millions of employees out there who are breathing toxic dust. Now you normally have something covering you and you're not supposed to breathe it. Like, that's not normal to be breathing it in. But if you're doing it over 30 years, I mean, the amount of exposure you're likely to have, increased risk of cancer and all these different things. The fact that this will just break down in your lungs. I mean, I believe there's a rat study on there where they used mineral wool and injected it into the lungs. Many of them over decades for these research, and it just breaks down in a few weeks. And the rats live, and for all the rest of them, they get lung lesions and all these different things. You can go read about it, but I just think it's great, that you guys are doing this. I love I think that 10X will change the world by improving safety standards across this industry. And we just thankful to be a part of it, and thankful to get to interview you early on. So when you're even more big and famous, that you'll maybe remember us and come on again.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate the ways in which you're helping us. We needed it. It is having a definite, measurable impact on our business. It's been fun, and everybody loves when they're learning something new and valuable. I think that everybody loves that, and that's where we're at. So thank you for helping us overcome what we all agreed earlier this year were things that we definitely had to improve. We were not good at, and now we're getting good. So look out.
Love it. Well, you guys can connect with Steve on LinkedIn. You can go to their website, 10xem.com, check out their business. Steve, anything else you want to say before we wrap up here?
No, only if you happen to be in the abrasives industry and you'd like to talk about how to be more profitable and grow your business, please call us, because that's what we do. We help achieve improvements in our customers' business. It's not just about abrasives.
Absolutely. And it's a great place to work. So if you're looking career, reach out to them. So awesome. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
We'll cut it right there. Good job, Steve. Steve, that was a great interview. Well done.
That was a great interview. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes to do this video real quick. So this is a testimonial video, and then I might, if we have the extra 2 minutes, might have you fill out a Google review if you don't mind. But basically, the goal of this video is just to say who you are, your position, your company, your industry, years in the business or experience. And the basic questions are why you decided to work with us, Knowledge Gap Company, or Knowledge Gap Consulting. What were some of the goals you wanted from consulting? How's the process been overall? What changes did we help you make? And what are some of the end results that you've seen with clients? Revenue, gross profit, net income. You can share numbers or percentages, anything you want. And I'm happy to pull those up for you if you need them. Assets developed, training, all those types of things. We'll have a list to help remind you. And this one will be cut up better. So if we have to pause, or you're like, and you need a second to think about something, there's no problem there at all. And the
Are
last
you going to
question,
ask me questions, or am I going to
I'm
just
going to ask the questions, and then we'll go kind of at a cadence, and it's going to cut me out of it. Like the question might come up on the screen, or it might have me audibly ask, but it's basically going to be of you talking generally.
Okay.
So,
Good.
Yeah, no, you're good. You can go work on the next thing. So, okay. So this is what you're going to do first. You're just going to state who you are, your position, name of the company and industry you're in, years of experience, how many years the company's existed probably.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just go whenever you're ready.
My name is Steve Ritchie. I am an engineer by training and education. I have a PhD in chemical engineering. Grew up in research and development and technology development, and we joined a group of guys who started a company in the abrasive blasting industry. We produce an abrasive media that we sell to people who maintain ships and boats and other things that need to be recoated. We started operations in July of 2019. We have grown over the past 5 years, and we've grown especially in the last 6 months since working with Knowledge Gap.
Lovely. And that's good. And we're going to probably move that a little bit down. So for this next part, just basically gonna try the same thing again. Just, hey, I'm Steve Ritchie. I'm the CEO and co-founder of 10X Engineered Materials. We're in the abrasives industry, or industrial abrasives industry, and we've been in business 6 years. If you could kind of just hit that piece, that way these people get it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to cut and paste what you just said, which is a great little story of like how you guys came to be. Sort of at a tell us about you, which will come right after sort of that intro clip, if you can imagine.
Okay. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. I'm Steve Ritchie. I'm the CEO and co-founder of 10X Engineered Materials. We produce a granular material. It's an abrasive blasting media that's used to remove coatings and corrosion from steel before you paint it again. We've been in business since 2019 and are growing, and our growth is accelerating with Knowledge Gap.
Perfect. That's great. So I had like, tell us about you. I think what you said earlier was great. So unless you have any additions to sort of telling about you. Okay. So first question is, why did you decide to work with the Knowledge Gap company?
We decided to work with Knowledge Gap after discussions that we had in the summer of 2023, when we were not meeting our growth targets. And when we came into 2024, we realized that we needed to do something about our weaknesses. And our weaknesses, we all decided as a company, were in marketing and especially in sales. We're a bunch of engineers, and we were impressed with Joe's expertise. You were the person that we talked to. Shoot.
That was good. So pause right there. So just start it. We were impressed by, and you can say the owners, Joe Ignace.
Okay.
I mean, you can say my name. It's not a problem. People will know that I exist. And you can say Knowledge Gap in place of that if you'd like. You do want to avoid using the word you, but other than that, just start from, we were impressed.
Yes, I'm speaking in third person. Yes.
Yeah.
I got it. And I'm going to start with, we were impressed by.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. We were impressed with Joe's attention to detail, the kinds of questions he asked, and the things that he and Knowledge Gap would provide for us, from personal training to mirroring to mentorship and helping us develop new sales processes that we could follow. It would be a copy and paste sales process that we could use over and over again and know it's going to work.
Awesome. That was great. Thank you. That was amazing. So that was why I decided. So what were some of the goals that you wanted from consulting? So what were some of your goals you had when you were started up with consulting?
Well, from a business standpoint, we needed to do a number of things. We needed to achieve greater market penetration. This gets into the nuts and bolts of business. As your market penetration increases, your costs of production per unit of product go down. And scale improves unit economics. Our unit economics were not satisfactory. And our investors were looking to us to do something about it. That's when we identified that we needed help in sales. And now that we've done this, we've grown at I just did this recently, a compound monthly rate of 13.4%. Now, I don't know about anybody else out there, but if someone told me I could get 13.4% per month, I'd put my money in it. So our growth rate is accelerated dramatically because our sales have improved.
Lovely. That's great. This one, how is the process of working with Knowledge Gap, or how has the process been working with Knowledge Gap, and how long have you worked with the Knowledge Gap so far?
We started with Knowledge Gap in April of 2024, and we are now, here we are in November, so it's been 6 or 7 months. The process has been fun. It's been enlightening. We were correct that we didn't understand how to be effective in the craft of sales. We now have, because of Joe's hard work and because of the work of the Knowledge Gap team, entire flow charts of processes for different kinds of leads that we're learning to follow. We have scripts that we can use to say the right things, because we realized that over the previous 5 years, we weren't saying the right things. Now that we're doing better. We still have ways to go, but we're doing better. Sales are improving. Our close rate is improving. The number of leads we're getting is improving. And that's why our growth is happening.
Lovely. Thank you. Let's see. I think you already answered what changes did we help make, but would you add anything if I asked that questions? What changes did we help you make? Would you add something to that, or do you feel like you covered that?
Oh, that's another thing I can say.
Okay. What were some of the biggest changes that we helped you make?
One of the biggest changes that Knowledge Gap helped us make is to get out of our engineer mindset. As Joe says, sell the sizzle and not the steak, and not belabor objections. Get past them quickly, answer the questions simply, and move on. Just that has made a big difference. It's like retraining an old dog, because we are old dogs, but we're learning and it's working.
Lovely. Okay, so this is end results. So it's basically what change did you see in the list below? So it's going to be like clients, opportunities, revenue, gross profit, net income, assets developed, efficiency, team culture, training. So I'll go through like maybe one at a time and just, and we can stop as much, but would that be easiest? Just go through one at a time?
Yes.
So what are some of the end results that you've seen when it comes to clients?
Clients are responding faster to our message. Or prospective customers especially are responding more quickly to our message. Our sales cycle, the time from lead generation to close, is getting shorter. Our customers are more satisfied than they have been in the past, simply because we're addressing problems more efficiently, communicating more effectively, and we're able to keep our clients with us and retain them.
Love it. So these are just a couple of numerical ones. So like revenue, what was your revenue growth percentage since starting with Knowledge Gap? I think you said 13% per month. Is that, so you've already said that? I'll just maybe just re-say whatever you'd like, or total or something. But yeah, what was your revenue growth result with Knowledge Gap so far?
Since starting with Knowledge Gap, our revenue has grown by a factor of 3 on a monthly basis. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I got it. It's doubled. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Let me say that again. Since starting with Knowledge Gap, let me start over. Since starting with Knowledge Gap, our revenue has doubled on a monthly basis in 7 months.
Awesome. Lovely. Thank you. How has it impacted your gross profit and your gross profit margin? However you want to say that.
Because of that growth, our unit costs of production, which is our overall costs per unit of product that we produce and sell, have gone down 25%, which is huge. It means that our margins have grown 25%.
Perfect. And how does that, how has Knowledge Gap impacted your net income or net income percentage?
The percentage is like, if we make $10,000 net income, the percentage growth is infinite, because it was 0 or negative.
Well, the percentage growth would really be the negative minus the negative plus,
correct.
Right. So thered be I think we have you somewhere at 115% increase in net profit as of last report.
Double. Right. So I can say double.
Sure. Sounds great.
Okay. Since April 2024, when we started with Knowledge Gap, our bottom line net income has doubled. And
Perfect. Oh, so sorry. Did not mean to talk while you did that. That's you're done. Sorry. Keep going.
I'm done. It's good.
Okay. Sorry. We're running out of time here. So,
I'm gonna have to go.
the last two things I have is asset development and efficiency. So like, what are some of the things that we've developed for you and how has that impacted efficiency? I think you might have answered that in part one, but I'll leave that up to you. Is there anything you'd want to add there?
Some of the assets that Knowledge Gap has helped us develop are scripts so that we learn to say the right things in the sales process and react appropriately at the right times in the sales process. Templates, document templates and presentation templates and email templates make us much more efficient. We have the right communication tools at our disposal, embedded into our CRM, all of it. It saves us a tremendous amount of time because we have a team with limited resources.
And if you don't mind saying, and that was maybe just hitting on the point, that was built for us and customized for us, that would be awesome.
Yes. Knowledge Gap built and customized those assets for us. We did not have to create those on our own, which also saved us a tremendous amount of time, effort, and investment of resources.
Perfect. Love it. Okay. And this is the last question. Would you recommend working with a Knowledge Gap and why?
I recommend Knowledge Gap for a bunch of reasons, but I will say this. I've never met a group of people more committed to my success, and they'll do the same thing for you. Your business will improve because they won't be satisfied until that happens.
That's a great recommendation. Wow. Awesome. All right. Is there anything else yeah, that was great. Yeah. I think that was awesome. Yeah, unless there's anything else you want to add, I am 3 minutes over on our time, so I want to make sure I respect that. So, but I think we have what we need, so it was great, and thank you for doing testimonial. And I will text you a reminder to fill out a Google review at some point with a link, just so you have it whenever you get a chance. So yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. It was a great podcast. We'll have the podcast out in a week or two. And we'll have Gavin or somebody send you the link so you guys can post it or listen to it and wherever you see fit. But it could be good and some sales emails at some point for an added value drip or something like that.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Steve. See ya.
Bye-bye.